Hey everyone, Praveen this side. I hope you guys are doing great. So today we are going to solve the problem anagram, which is an easy level problem. So the description says given two strings s1 and s2 consisting of lowercase characters. The task is to check whether the two strings are anagram of each other or not. So we have been given two strings s1 and s2 and we need to check whether these two strings are anagram of each other or not. An anagram of a string is another string that contains the same characters. Only the order of characters can be different. So here we got the definition of anagram, that an anagram of a string is another string where they have the same characters but the order is changed. For example, act and tack are an anagram of each other because both of these words have the same characters, that is a here and a here, c here and c here, t here and t here, but the order is changed, right? String S1 and S2 can only contain lowercase alphabets. Now, for S1 and S2, the problem is just providing us the lowercase alphabets. Okay. Now, there's a note point here saying you can assume both string S1 and S2 are non-empty. Now, the problem description is clear. Let's see the examples. For the input one, S1 is GEEKS, and for S2, it is KSSEG. The output is true because both the strings have the same characters with same frequency, so they are anagrams. Now in the explanation, they have directly gave us the hint that both of the string have the same characters with the same frequency, right? So we have to deal with their frequency. That is the direct hint. And for storing the frequency, we can either use hash map or we can use the vector. And the vector size will be 26 because it is clearly given that both of the string contains lowercase alphabets, right? So now, how much lowercase alphabets range? It ranges from A to Z, right? And the distance between them is 26. So safely we can take 26 vector size. Now coming to example 2, S1 is ALLERGY and S2 is ALLERGIC. The output is false. The explanation says characters in both the strings are not same, so they are not anagrams. Okay. So we have understood both the examples. So let's take example 1 as reference and try to dig deeper into the observations that we have just gathered. Okay. So here I have taken example 1 as reference. Now what we observed in the example, we need to store the frequency of both S1 and S2. So let's start with S1. So in S1, frequency of G is 1. The frequency of E is 2. The frequency of K is 1. And frequency of S is 1. And similarly, in string S2, the frequency of K is 1. The frequency of S is 1. The frequency of E is 2. And the frequency of G is 1. Simple. Now if we cross check the frequency of each character, G has the frequency of 1, E has the frequency of 2, K has the frequency of 1 and S has the frequency of 1. Now since all of these frequencies are equal, then we can simply say that both of the strings are anagram of each other. Now let's suppose we had an extra character A in string S2. Then we would have stored the frequency of A as 1 here. Now if we cross check, here we don't have any frequency for A, but we have a frequency 1 of A in string S2. So we'll simply return false from here because one of the frequencies is not matching. So for solving this problem, either we can take hash map or array of size 26. Now we know why to take the size of 26 because lowercase alphabets ranges from A to Z. But how can we store frequency of each character in array of size 26? There's a simple trick. If you take a character and you subtract it with A, then you will directly get the index. That is, if you take A and if you subtract it with A, then you will get as 0. If you subtract B from A, then you will get as 1. So on till if you take Z and if you subtract it with A, you will get 25. Simple. So this is the observation. Okay. So for this, we are taking two vectors, vector 1 and vector 2, right? But can we do this same problem by taking only one vector? Let's find it out. Now, what is an important observation with which we can take only one space? If you see the example, this G can be cancelled with this G, right? This 2 is can be cancelled with this 2 is, right? This K can be cancelled with this K. And this S can be cancelled with this S. Simple. So instead of taking two vectors and storing their frequency, in the one iteration, we'll store the frequency of S1. And in second iteration, from string S2, we'll try to subtract the frequency of each character. Now, after adding and subtracting, if we get all of the characters' frequency as 0, 0, then it is an anagram, else not. So let's see how it goes. Now I'll rub this A and this whole thing. Okay. Now till this the part is same, but now we are taking just one vector, right? Now from S2 we have first character as K, so we'll subtract it and it becomes 0, right? Here we have S, so we'll subtract it and it becomes 0. Here we have E, so we'll subtract it one time, and one more E, so we'll subtract it one more time, it becomes 0. Now for G, we'll subtract it and it becomes 0. So if I clean all these cancellations and check properly, we have all the frequency as 0. But suppose we had an extra character A here. Okay. Now we would have subtracted this A from this list, right? So A's frequency would have been -1. Simple. Now if we check the list, we don't have all frequency as 0. We have A as -1. So in this case, we'll return false. Simple. So we have optimized our solution from taking two frequency arrays to just one frequency array. Okay. So the problem is very simple, right? So let's see the code. So here's the code in C++, although the logic remains same. So the function name is areAnagrams and they have given two strings s1 and s2. So in the first step, I am checking whether s1.size is not equals to s2.size. That is, if both of the strings doesn't have the same length, then it is impossible to form it as anagram, right? So at that moment itself, I am returning it as false. But if it is not the case, so I have taken a frequency array of size 26 and initialized each one to 0, right? And here I have directly used for of loop to get the character instead of using our traditional loop where we access the character through index, right? So while getting each character, as I said, if we subtract it with small a, we'll get it as index. So at that index, I'm incrementing its frequency by 1. And here for string s2, I'm decrementing each character's frequency by 1, right? And after doing two steps, I'm checking in the frequency whether the num is 0 or not. At any case, if it is not 0, then we simply return it as false. But if each number is 0, then it will never enter in this condition and we can simply return it as true. So the code was pretty simple, right? Now, what will be the time complexity for this approach? Here, we are running two for loops for getting each character from S1 and S2, right? So it will be O of n, right? And here we are running a for loop on frequency. But since here the frequency size is 26, so this loop will be just run for 26. So the overall time complexity, this O of n and this O of 1 will be O of n, right? And what will be the space complexity for this approach? Now you guys must be thinking that since we used vector here, so the space complexity will be O of n. But here we are using the vector, but of just size 26, right? Which is as good as constant because here we know the size. So the space complexity will be O of 1. Simple. So I hope you guys like this video. If you guys really did, then please like, share and subscribe. It will really motivate me to bring more such good content. If you have any query regarding my explanation, please comment it down. I'll try to respond as quickly as possible. And if you have any feedback for my teaching, please comment it down too so that I can improve on that. So see you guys tomorrow solving any other coding problem. Till then, stay safe, stay happy, and peace.